Hello and welcome to the Mindful Knitter podcast. My name is Claire and I am your host. This is our first podcast episode since November. So if I'm a little rusty, I apologize. This will be a bit of a year in review episode and my plans and hopes and dreams for 2023 as far as crafting goes. So if you are returning, welcome back. I'm so happy to have you here with me to hang out for a while again. And if you are new, welcome. I'm so glad that you found me. If you want to connect on social media, I do have an email address. It's clairethemindfulknitter@gmail.com. And there's also an Instagram page. It is the.mindfulknitter on Instagram. And then on Ravelry, it's Mindful Knitter Pod on Ravelry. And we have a group on Ravelry as well. It's the Mindful Knitter podcast group on Ravelry. So I think that's all the social media stuff. If you have any questions about any of the information from today's episode, or you want to know more about the yarn or the designers or any of those kinds of things, all that information will be down in the description below the video. You just click on the More button after the title of the video on YouTube, and you'll have a drop-down menu that has all of the information, all the show notes for today's episode. So I'm realizing I didn't turn on my ring light for, ooh, that's real bright. Let's turn that down. That's better. Yeah, and hopefully that gives a better light for colors for the yarn and things. If you are new, this is primarily a knitting podcast, but we talk about crocheting and other fiber crafty things as well. So there's lots of pretty yarn, but we do talk, I think, mostly about knitting. So we'll kind of start to get into things for today. First, our year in review. I have notes. I tried to be good about preparing notes for you guys. Yeah, and hopefully this is interesting. I just kind of wanted to share my thoughts and feelings and just the 2022 year-end review that I was doing, in case anyone found that interesting. So I had, let's see, I've got total projects, so how many projects I did this year, or this past year, because now it's January 1st. So how many projects I did, how many skeins of yarn that I used, not including scraps. And then I have it broken down a little bit into like how many socks or how many pairs of socks, how many tops, etc. that I did. I have a few of my favorite projects from this year to share with you guys. I am wearing one of them. And let's see, some highlights from this past year. And then I went back and I looked at my beginning of the year 2022 craft planning list that I had made for myself, just to see where was I at a year from now, what did I want out of my crafting life, and what did I do? So we'll review the year first, and then I'll share a little bit about what I am wanting to do in this new year, and what projects I'm currently working on that I'm bringing into 2023. So firstly, maybe let's talk about total projects that I did. So I completed a total of 61 projects this year in 2022, which is the most projects I've ever completed in a year. So that was kind of cool. Of those 61 projects, 30 of them were pairs of socks. So, yes, various sizes. All adult socks. I did not knit any child or baby socks this year. So 30 pairs of adult socks for my size or someone who has a larger size foot than I do. My socks were definitely the smallest size that I knit this year, because I was knitting for a bunch of guys, and then my sisters-in-law and my mom, I just happened to have the smallest size foot. So most of the socks that I knit were, I think, well, no, actually probably about half of the socks I knit were for me. I did a lot of gift socks this year, so that was fun. Let's see. So 30 pairs of socks, 8 tops, so 8 sweatshirts, jumpers, pullovers, t-shirts, that kind of thing. So 8 tops, 8 shawls. One was a shawlette, the Plume shawlette. So that's about a 1 skein shawl. So that was not a big project. All of the rest of the shawls were at least 2 skeins. One of them was 5 skeins of fingering weight. That was the Flora Days wrap. And it's beautiful. It's a giant rainbow, and it took a long time. It was 5 skeins of fingering weight yarn. So 8 shawls, 8 accessories of various kinds. So headbands, hats, mittens, cowls, things like that. And then 7 miscellaneous items. So that could be something for my niece, maybe like the doll blanket that she wanted me to make her. Washcloths. If I did washcloths, it was a set of washcloths. I just count it as one thing. So if I knit a set of like 3 or 4 dishcloths, I just counted that as one set. So yeah, so 7 miscellaneous projects. So that's fun. I knit a few, or I crocheted a few baby blankets. So definitely those went into that category. So 61 projects in total. And then how many skeins of yarn that I used in 2022. This is not including scraps, and I did do a number of scrappy projects. I worked through quite a few of my scraps in stash this year. So total number of skeins that I used this year was 94. So yeah, I knit or crocheted. I don't think I really wove a whole lot. No, I don't think I finished any woven projects this year. So I knit or crocheted 94 skeins of yarn this year, which I thought was kind of cool. Part of me wants to knit, part of me wants to use over at least 100 skeins in 2023, but I also am not going to hold myself to that because that just feels, who knows what life will bring, and that just doesn't feel like the kind of goal that I need in my life at this point, or that my hands need in my life, because, you know, arthritis is a very real thing. So yeah, 94 skeins of yarn I used in 2022. So I thought that was kind of fun. Neat. So that's it for the numbers. I originally, at the beginning of the year, I wanted to keep track of how many skeins were coming into my stash. I abandoned that about halfway through the year because I realized I'm having a lot of fun buying yarn this year. I'm just going to buy yarn this year, and that won't last forever. I know that eventually my yarn buying mojo will run its course, and I will be more moderate. But this was the first year that I'd ever really done a lot of yarn shopping, that I'd gone to many yarn shops, that I'd really gotten much into hand-dyed yarn, or explored a bunch of different fibers. And so I just kind of let myself go, and I had a lot of fun buying yarn this past year. So I stopped keeping track of how many skeins were coming in. I do think, though, this coming year, 2023, I will be keeping track of how many skeins are coming in and going out, just because I think my yarn buying is going to change this year. It was really good, I think, to just let myself kind of have fun and explore this past year with yarn buying, because I think it gave me a much better idea of the types of yarn that I like. Well, there's a lot of yarn that I like, but the types of yarns that I enjoy the most to use and the most to wear. So I think that I wouldn't have been able to have such a good idea of that if I hadn't had the freedom to experience so many different types of yarn. But seeing what comes into my stash and that I need to use immediately, or that I get really excited when I finally think of a project for it, versus those skeins of yarn that just sit there and then after a few months I'm not super crazy about them anymore. yeah, I got a lot of good information. So I think that my yarn buying in 2023 will be very different. And I'm interested to see what that will look like. So no regrets at all. I had a lot of fun with my yarn shopping, but I do think it'll look different this year. So, and I kind of want to keep track of it, not necessarily because I have a goal of using more than I bring into stash or anything like that. I had that goal for 2022, but I don't think I'm going to have that goal for 2023 just because for me, I don't think that's a goal that works super well. So I am more just going to gather the information and see how I feel about that information when I have it and act accordingly and just try to be thoughtful and mindful about how I'm making my choices through this coming year without really setting any sort of like rigid guidelines or goals for myself. I'm just going to let myself kind of see where I'm at whenever I am there, if that makes any sense. So yeah, no rigid constraints or anything. I'm just going to, yeah, kind of go with it naturally and trust the process a little bit, I think. I think that if I am, yeah, noticing what I'm bringing in and noticing how I feel about what I'm bringing in, noticing how I'm using it, how I'm enjoying it, and that sort of thing, I'll let that be my guide. So enough about that, I think. Anything else to mention about that? I can't remember where I was originally going, but I think I got there at some point in that tangent. So let's talk a little bit about my favorite projects from 2022. I will just go ahead and tell you about the one I'm wearing right now. This is the Tulip jumper by Melody Hoffman, and it is wonderful. I've worn this a lot since I completed it. I only completed it about 2 weeks ago, but I have worn it probably 5 or 6 times since then. So this is one that's going to get a lot of wear. I will say the neckline is very wide, and I didn't do the cast on method that she recommended. I can't now remember what cast on method she did recommend. I did bind off the way that that's written in the pattern, but I didn't do the cast on in the pattern. So that might be part of the problem. My cast on might have just been too loose, but it is a wider neck. I mean, you can tell it is a wider neck, just as it is written. So I do have a little bit of issue with it going off the shoulder. This is about as off the shoulder as it gets unless I'm moving around a whole lot, and in which case it can kind of tend to like do a little bit of an off the shoulders 80s kind of thing, which I don't really mind too much. Honestly, it bothers me more that it does that because I don't want all this to stretch out. I don't necessarily mind the off the shoulder look. I just don't want this to get super stretched out. So what I think I'm going to do is I think I'm going to get a little bit of like a reinforcer, maybe like a nylon type ordeal or an elastic kind of threadish type thing. And I'm going to just sew it in here to kind of keep all this cinched in just a little bit, just to add a little bit more structure because I don't want this neckline just expanding over the years. At some point, it might be necessary for me to pick up stitches and knit it in a little bit more. I don't know, perhaps. But yeah, so this is I'll get up a little bit so you can see better. And this is the way I do like to wear it most, is with a long dress. It is this is the cropped version. She has a full length version, but I knit the cropped version. It's got this beautiful scalloped hemline, as you can see. And the yarn that I used is gorgeous. I used 2 different yarns. The base yarn is by Falling Leaf Fibers on Etsy. And the colorway is, actually it's a custom colorway. She dyed it for me because I saw a colorway on her site and or on her page and in her shop. And I was like, I love this. This would be perfect for a sweater that I'm doing. But would it be possible for you to give me skeins that had a little bit of more of whatever skeins from the batch you dye up? Can I have the ones that have a little more of this, a little less of this? And she's like, well, why don't I just dye you a batch? What are you looking for? Amazing. So I told her what I was looking for. She even sent me some samples, like some pictures of some samples, because she did like a completely custom colorway for me, which was really amazing, and I appreciate that so much. It ended up being perfect because the yarn that I paired it with was a Suri silk from Stella Luna Fiber Company in the tobacco leaf colorway, and it has this gorgeous golden, almost like ochre kind of color, almost, and there's like a caramel kind of color in some places, and then like a super dusty pink, almost mauve kind of color. And it's just gorgeous with that base yarn of cream and mauve and a little bit of like a golden speckling. So it was beautiful. So I held those together. I held a DK and a Suri strand together for this, and I knit the medium size, and it's beautiful. It is just absolutely beautiful. It is soft and warm, and it's like, and it was a joy to knit. I enjoyed knitting the entire thing from start to finish. So I definitely recommend this pattern, and the yarns that I used were beautiful yarns as well. I used the needle size recommended in the pattern. I didn't really make any modifications at all, other than I did a different cast on. I did the bind off. Yeah, like I did the bind off that she had written in the pattern. Yeah, I didn't modify it at all. I just knit it as written. I may have, actually, I take that back. I may have knit it slightly more cropped than is written, like slightly, like maybe by ½ inch, just because I'm not necessarily short-waisted. I have a very high waist, and so I wanted it to hit me a little bit. It still hits below my natural waist, but I did want it to hit just a little bit higher because I know I've got a high waist, and I thought that would work better for me. So this was probably my very favorite knit. Well, it's a tie between this one, and I'll just go ahead and show you my other very favorite knit of 2022. And this is my Miss May shawl by Helen Stewart. This is glorious. This was from her mystery knit along of the summer, and it is just glorious to behold. See a little bit closer up. Yeah, it's gorgeous. I made one small modification. The edge I knit a bit shorter, just a few rows shorter than what the pattern called for no reason other than I just kind of wanted to bind off and I didn't really feel like the extra length added, or that extra width added a whole lot for me. So this is definitely this is probably my favorite thing I've ever knit. I just love this so much. It's gorgeous, right? So, and it's so like flowy and drapey and just absolutely, I think, a work of art. I love Helen Stewart's patterns. I think that she is an elegant pattern designer, and I'm currently knitting several of her other patterns right now. Yeah, I just think it's the most beautiful thing. I love it so, so much. Most of this yarn is by Nanette Wake Studio, who's on Etsy. Yeah, and then the gray was a Juniper Moon Farm. This is their Suri, not their Suri, it's a Hawaiian. It's just their alpaca, like baby alpaca. I can't remember now off the top of my head what the yarn is called, but it's like a fine baby alpaca yarn by Juniper Moon Farm. It's a fingering weight. Yeah, so this is the Miss May Mystery Knit Along Shawl by Helen Stewart, and it's absolutely wonderful. So this is probably my favorite knit of 2022 of all time, and this is my second favorite, but it's a close second. I just love them. And we're noticing I definitely have like a color palette that I love. I love pink and yellow, particularly pink and gold. And if it's like a dusty rose kind of pink and a gold, then that's my sweet spot. So yeah, so these are the two of my favorite knits of 2022. A few more. This little gnome was definitely in the top 6 or 7. This is by Imagined Landscapes. This is their Gnome de Plume pattern, and he is just such a character. I love his hat. I love his little leaf. His name is Newt, and I love him. So this guy was awesome. He was knit with scraps. And let's see. I kind of want to put him somewhere where we can see him. I just love him so much. He's just so cool. Some other things. My favorite top that I knit, so I was kind of going with what are things I wear a lot. So another thing, I wear my Miss May shawl all the time, but I also wear this all of the time. This is the Dive Tee by We Are Knitters, and this is knit in We Are Knitters yarn. This is their the cotton, as if there's any other cotton. This is the cotton and the copper colorway, and I knit a size medium. It's a little wrinkly because I haven't worn it since the summer. But I have worn this a lot. It's got this drop stitch V detail on both the front and the back, and it's just a super easy fitting top. It's possible I might knit another one actually because I like it so much. We'll see. I did not super enjoy knitting it just because I don't love knitting miles of stockinette on a solid color, but I do love the finished object, and I wore this a lot this summer. So that's definitely a favorite. And then I will have the designer name in the description below because I can never remember this designer's name for some reason. It's not because she's not a great designer. I just can't remember it. And I don't know why. I need to work on that within myself, I guess. But this is the Upsala hat. And it is this super cute, like it's called I think she calls it a dandelion stitch. Obi, one of my Great Danes, ate it. So this is currently in the hospital and will be repaired shortly because I'm going to need it when the weather cools back down. We're having a little bit of a heat wave at the moment, but it will cool down again, and I will want this hat. I love this hat. This is knit in Malabrigo Mecha in the Olivia colorway, and this is such a good hat. It fits perfectly. It looks really great with my head shape and my haircut. And it's so comfortable, and it's soft, and it's warm, and it is now covered in mud and Great Dane grossness, and he ate a giant hole in it. You can see all the mud probably too. Ridiculous dog. So yeah, this is going to get repaired. I did find the scrap yarn for it, so I'm gonna just tink back. I'm gonna pick up these stitches right here, put them on a needle, and then rip all these out, and then just kind of knit, I guess, backwards from there. We'll see how that goes. Let me know in the comments if that's a really terrible idea. I've never actually done that before, so I'm not real sure how that will go. I imagine it'll be fine. I don't really care if you can tell that, I don't really care if you can tell where I picked up and started knitting the opposite direction. If you've been watching the podcast for a while, you know that I am not a perfectionist when it comes to my knitting. The yarn is there to bring me joy, not to be bent to my every perfectionist whim. And then my final favorite object, finished object for the year, I suppose. Yeah. Oh, I've got some socks. So I'll show you these first. These I just finished like last week. And these are the Medley mitts by Helen Stewart. Aren't these so cute? These are part of her Knit Vent collection this year. And I've worn these a few times because it definitely got cold last week, like it did in so many places. But look how cute these are. I did make one small modification. Instead of doing twisted rib, I did just a normal 1x1 rib because I don't love the look of twisted rib. I do rather like the look of just a normal 1x1. And I think these are so, so cute. She's got this little eyelet lace detail on the cuff, and the yarn is beautiful. These are various yarns from various dyers, and they are super warm and cozy, and I haven't blocked them, so they'll get even fluffier. They'll get a little fluffier, I think, when they do get blocked because the yarn will get to bloom a little bit. But I just think these are so happy, and I love these happy colors for in the winter. I do tend to, I love neutrals, but I tend to like some bright happy colors in the winter just because it's so gray outside where I live. So it just adds a little bit of brightness and happiness to a gray time of the year. So it was very hard to pick out favorite pairs of socks for the year. So I just grabbed two that I think do make me the happiest, maybe. I don't know. I really like all the socks that I've knit. But these I particularly do enjoy. These are scrappy socks. Not really scrappy. These are knit using a set of minis. It was a Valentine's Day set of minis from, I'll try to find the name of it and put it down below for you. They are on Etsy, and I know I've talked about them in a previous podcast, but it was a set of I think it was a set of 10 minis. Yeah, and I just used a mini for X number of rows. I didn't calculate it at all. I just kind of went based on memory of like how many rows do I tend to knit for my leg and then foot and then etc.-ish. And I went by, not by number, but by look. Like, this looks about right. Yeah, and both socks ended up matching pretty perfectly. So I was pretty pleased with that. So these make me very happy because they were my first time doing anything that resembled a scrappy sock. It was my first time using a set of minis for something. And other than my Advent shawl from last year, that was my Flora Days shawl, the 5 skeins of fingering weight yarn. That was 5 skeins of minis, like 500 grams of minis. That was a lot. That was a lot of knitting. But yes, these were my first pair of scrappy socks, and I thought they came together very nicely. I really liked how cohesive they were. And they're sport weight, so they're very cozy. I really liked these. These pleased me quite a bit. So I love those. And then these are my most, one of my most recently finished pairs of socks. I actually haven't even worn these yet. These I cast on in November. And these are Stella Luna Fiber Company. This is the Mulled Mead colorway. This is the Mulled Mead colorway, and then this is her sock set for that. And these are just completely gorgeous. They are getting blown out a little. That's a better color representation. Yeah. So these are beautiful, and I love them. Yeah, and the yarn just feels wonderful. I really like Stella Luna Fiber Company. I recently discovered them, and their yarn is beautiful. So those are my favorite projects from 2022. And then let's see about highlights from the year, just experiences that were highlights. So I learned how to spin this year. I did not tally up all of my skeins of yarn that I have spun this year. It is definitely over 10. I'd probably ballpark 20 skeins of yarn. It could even be more than that, honestly. Because I spun 3 skeins of yarn in December, 4 skeins of yarn in December. So it could be more than 20, but I'm just going to ballpark about 20 skeins of yarn for this year. But I learned how to spin in January off of YouTube. So I got my spinning wheel for Christmas last year and I learned how to spin. And that's been amazing. So it's definitely been a highlight for 2022. I went to my first fiber festival this year and that was amazing. I went for 2 days and it was so good. When I went back the second day, the people at work there were like, "You're back again?" Because it's not a big fiber festival, but I just loved being surrounded by yarn and by people who love yarn. So yeah, I went back for a second day. It was really awesome. And I have a video on the channel about my first fiber festival. I can link it down in the description for you if you'd like to check it out. But it was so much fun. And I got quite a great haul from it too, as you can probably imagine. The third highlight from this past year was going to my first yarn retreat. I went to the Yarn Patches yarn retreat in the Cumberland Mountains State Park, or at Cumberland Mountain State Park, and it was wonderful. It was 3 days in the mountains with just lovely crafters, and it was just such a magical time. And I got to meet in person one of my friends from the podcast, Aranda, and that was so amazing. And I still get so happy when I think about that. It was so amazing getting to know her and hanging out with her and just chat so much. And she's just such a beautiful person. And she's so talented. Yeah, anyway, I won't like rave about her anymore, but that was an amazing experience. It was magical. Yeah, going to a yarn retreat was everything I could have dreamed of. And then another highlight from 2022 is just getting to wear my knits, getting to wear hand knits every day. I only recently, like in the past year and a half, okay, 2 years. In the past 2 years, I've really gotten obsessive about knitting. I've been knitting for well over a decade. I don't know how long, probably 16, 17 years. And I think I said less previously when I've talked about it before, but I keep forgetting how old I am. So it's probably been 16 or 17 years since I started knitting, but I only got really like obsessive about it. I only started using patterns and things in the last 2 years. Before that, I was very much stuck in like garter land. So it's just been amazing having hand knits that are very wearable and just part of my everyday wardrobe. I wear hand knits to work. I wear hand knit socks every day. I wear t-shirts and sweaters, and it's amazing getting to wear clothes that I made basically every day. And that's something that I want more of in the coming year. So moving into, actually, before I move into 2023 wishes, let's see, what did I originally write about 2022 that I wanted to happen? Let's see. It's in here somewhere. I told myself at the beginning of the podcast, like, oh, I should put a page marker on that page so that I can find it easily. And I didn't do that. So here we are. In 2021, I made 44 projects. So I made a lot of projects this year. How many was it? 61? Yeah. So that's cool. So ideas that I had for 2022 was use more skeins than I buy. That didn't happen. Use my journal more consistently. Kind of. I definitely use my crafting journal consistently, but I don't use it as extensively as I originally wanted. Like originally I wanted to make notes about every single project and like journal my thoughts and feelings about where I was in life at that time with each all that kind of stuff. That didn't happen. I mostly just like wrote down the bare minimum to kind of keep track of stuff. So that's okay. I don't think I'm super journal-y as a person, and that's fine. I journal sometimes, and that works for me, I think. So some projects that I wanted to do in 2022 was make the Spice Market wrap, which is from a book that my mother-in-law gave me last year. I didn't end up doing that, but I do still want to do that at some point. Complete my Flora Day shawl. I did do that. Knit a Yarnicorn sweater. I didn't do that in 2022, but that's definitely happening in 23 because it's already cast on, and I'm going to share that with you guys in a few minutes. Make summer shirts. Yes, I did do that. Knit my mom a sweater. I didn't do that, but I did knit my mom several other things, so that's okay. I think I'll probably knit her a sweater this year. Crochet baby blankets. Yep. And knit socks for my parents. Yep. So I did do several of the things that I wanted to do as far as making projects, like particular projects. As far as new skills I wanted to acquire, I wanted to do stranded color work. I did a little bit of stranded color work, but I still wouldn't say I've done a stranded color work project. So that would be something cool to do in 2023. I think that's something I do still want to do. We'll see if that happens or not. Knit more lace. Yes, I knit a lot of lace this year. And I still want to knit more lace. I think I definitely am a lace person. I love knitting lace. It never gets old. I just really like knitting lace. So, yeah, that was good. And I did all kinds of different lace this year, so that was really fun. Spin yarn. I did spin quite a bit of yarn this year. And then knit textured socks. Sort of. I knit some textured socks, but they weren't particularly complex textures. I do want to do more textured socks this coming year. Like there's like broken ribbed socks. I'd like to do some, at least one pair, but I'll probably end up doing a few pairs. I would like to do some lace socks as well. And then maybe some very simple cabled socks would be nice too. So I have so many socks now that I don't feel the need to knit a large volume of socks. So I like the idea of doing some socks with a little bit of pattern on them. I'll probably still do vanilla socks, but yeah, I like the idea of doing some with a pattern on them. And then I wanted to do summer sock camp with the Crazy Sock Lady. I did not because I was doing so many mystery knit-alongs. I was knitting a bunch of shawls this summer, so I did not end up doing summer sock camp. But I have no regrets. I loved my shawl knitting, and I have plenty of socks. So I loved doing the shawl knitting, and I loved being part of those mystery knit-alongs. And yeah, so no complaints there. I wanted to knit with my hand spun. I did get to do that. I knit my mom's shawl out of my hand spun, and I'll actually show that to you guys in just a couple minutes. And then host the Hygge make-along, which I did do, and I think I'd like to do again this year. So you can comment below, are you interested in doing a Hygge make-along for this winter? I think we're gonna just go ahead and plan to do it because it was really fun last year. We might do it slightly differently this year than we did last year, but I think that we'll just go ahead and plan to do that. I'll share more information about specifically what that will entail. But yeah, Hygge make-along, hooray. Yeah, so I did a lot of the things I wanted to do in 2022 at the beginning of the year. Not all of it, but that's okay because what I wanted changed. So for 2023, I made craft wishes. So it's not goals, it's not really plans, it's just what are some things I'd like to do. And I did, some things are less specific, and some things are fairly specific. So I'll share them with you. I have yarn related things, sewing related things, and then just things that I think would bring me joy, that are definitely crafting related goals or wishes, but they're just things I think would bring me joy. So first with the yarn, I would like to finish a weaving project this year. And I've already started one. It's a shawl that I'm weaving on a triangle loom that I made and I'm weaving it with my hand spun yarn. So that would be really cool to finish that, but I don't necessarily feel like I have to finish that one. I just want to finish a weaving project. So yeah, finish a weaving project. Oh, I did put stranded color work on here, so I would like to do a stranded color work project, a substantial one. There are a couple of cowls and hats that I have my eye on, and I think those would be good to start with for stranded color work because they're smaller projects. There's some really like gorgeous like swancho type sweaters, like big like poncho sweater type things that have like 3 and 4 color stranded color work, and that feels like something to try if I enjoy this hat or cowl. So yeah, but I'd like to do some stranded color work this year, some like substantial stranded color work. I would like to make some more pairs of DK socks, yeah, and sport weight socks, because I'm finding that I really like the cozy squishy socks when it's cold outside. So in the summer, I really like my fingering weight socks, but when it's cold, I want more DK and sport weight squishy socks. I would like to knit some lace socks. I would love to take a spinning class. That would be awesome. So I am going to look into that, I think, at some point this year, because I'd love to learn from a person in real time, in real life, how to spin better, learn more techniques, become more of a technical spinner, because I am not a technical spinner at all right now. I just kind of play with the yarn and what happens, happens. I would love to knit a tunic because I love to wear tunics. They are one of my very favorite clothing items to wear. And thus far I have knit a tank top tunic, but that's the only tunic of any kind I've ever knit. So I would love to knit at least one tunic this year, preferably one that has some sort of sleeves, even if it's just short sleeves. I would love to focus on enjoying my stash more. So I'm not making any goals about limiting how much yarn I buy or how much yarn I have to use versus how much comes in. I just want to have the general goal of enjoying my stash more. And that entails not just using my stash, but spending time with it, gazing upon it more, just looking at it, squishing it, smelling it, sprinkling essential oils around to keep the bugs out, displaying it in a wonderful way. I am going to be reorganizing my craft room shortly, and I really want to display my yarn in a way that makes me really happy. So I just want to enjoy my stash more. Part of that is using what I have and getting to enjoy it that way, but part of it is also like displaying it in a way that excites me or makes me happy, taking care of it, just spending time with it. I just want to enjoy my stash more. I want to make some felted slippers. I think that'd be fun. So at some point this year, I really want to make a pair of felted slippers. I have some knit picks. Oh, what's it called? It's the worsted weight yarn that's non-superwash wool. I'm sure you know what it's called, but the name is escaping me right now. I have several skeins of that, and I think that'd be good for some felted slippers. I would like to do some more with some natural yarn dyeing. I did experiment with that a little bit this past week, and I'll share that with you in a minute as well. But I'd love to do some more natural yarn dyeing. And then this year, I want to host a yarn retreat. So I'll keep you guys updated about what that looks like. I have an idea for like a mini retreat just locally that I could host, just on fairly short notice, really. I could host that next month if I wanted to. So we'll see how that goes, and I can keep you updated on how that goes. But if I'm hosting a larger retreat that's like more of a destination, like weekend long retreat, I'll definitely let you guys know about that so that you can join if you would like to. There are a couple of different ideas. I've talked to a couple of different yarn shops that would love to collaborate with me on hosting a retreat. So we'll see, and I'll keep you guys updated on that. But I definitely want to host at least one yarn retreat this year. I have like 6 in mind. We'll see how many I actually end up doing, but I want to do at least one. So those are the yarn wishes that I have for this year. For sewing, I would like to use some of my existing stash because I have a bit of fabric that I have a fabric stash now because in the past few months I really started getting interested in sewing. So I haven't done tons of it yet, but I got really interested. So I would like to do some sewing with my existing fabric stash. I would like to sew dresses for my nieces and a couple shirts. I have the patterns, I have the fabric. I just need to sew them, the shirts and the dresses. Those will be the first garments I'll ever sew, so that's exciting. I want to sew myself a dress, which seems scary, but I really want to do it. I really want to sew myself a dress, and I really do want to sew a bag as well. I forgot to put on here, I don't really care what kind of bag, like it could be a zipper pouch, it could be a tote bag, it could be a project bag, whatever. But I would love to sew a bag this year. And then I just added onto the list because I was thinking about this earlier. I want to play around with English paper piecing because it's so cool. It's those little hexagons of fabric. You could really do any shape, but it's very often little, like they call them hexies, so little hexagons of fabric, and they're often small, and you sew them together and you can make all sorts of beautiful intricate designs. It's so much fun looking, and you can make very small projects with it, or people can make quilts with it. It's so fun looking, and I really want to do it. So those are my sewing goals, not goals, wishes. So hopefully some of that will happen this year. And then just joyful things that I am wanting for this year. I want to declutter, reorganize my craft room. I want to do more crafting outside. I tend to do a fair bit of crafting outside because I take my knitting with me everywhere. But like I want to do more of taking my spinning wheel out on the porch, or taking it out by the spa, or taking my knitting out into the woods, or whatever. I want to do more crafting outside. If I could do it every week, that'd be great. And then just generally slow myself down a bit. I feel like I have been pushing for like 2 decades. I'm not exaggerating. And this past year, the burnout really became apparent, and I took a semester off from school this fall because I couldn't do, I had a lot going on with like family health and taking care of my own health and working and doing my dissertation all at the same time. And so I think this year I'm going to have a little bit more emphasis on just slowing down. I'm slowing down myself with my dissertation. Like there's always this feeling of like, I want to get done, I want to graduate, and that's not working for me anymore. That like pressure, it used to work for me when I was younger. It doesn't work for me anymore. It just makes me freeze up. With my knitting and my crafting, I want to get this project done so I can do the next project. I want to get this yarn used up so I can use the next yarn. I don't want to do that anymore. I just want to slow everything down. In the morning when I wake up and I'm thinking about all the things that I need to do that day, that's fine. I don't want to feel rushed about it though. I want to have the things I want to do that day and then focus on doing those things one thing at a time. So I just want to slow down. I want to slow my roll. And maybe that means I do less things this year, and that's okay. Or maybe it just means I do the things that I do more slowly and I enjoy them more. We'll see. But I want to slow down. So those are my thoughts about 2022, my hopes and dreams for 2023. And I guess I'll share with you guys a couple things that I recently finished, and I'll share with you too the works in progress that I have that I'm taking with me into 2023. I have the Mystery Knit Along from Stephen West that I'm picking back up, that I'm going to be doing kind of during the Hyper Knit Along. I'm not So Stephen West hosts the Hybrid Knit Along in the winter every year, and he releases this gorgeous shawl pattern for it, and then he has a book of patterns as well. I'm not doing any of that. I'm finishing my Mystery Knit Along, the Twists and Turns shawl, because I did not finish that during the original MCAL time, which is fine. I embraced my pace, like he says, and I had a lot of other stuff I needed to be doing, so that went on vacation for a bit, and now it's coming back home from vacation, and it's going to get finished. So I'm picking that back up shortly. So I'll share with you guys the things that I recently finished. I'm talking a lot more than I expected that I would, but that happens every time. I was like, this is going to be such a short episode. It's going to be like 30 minutes. Never. So I just wanted to share this with you guys. This is the shawl that I knit for my mom. This I knit using my hand spun, and this is a shawl that I designed. So I have not named this pattern. But it is, yeah, it's just kind of like a textured throughout with very simple lace kind of ordeal throughout the whole shawl. And it's super simple, but I think it's simple but effective, I think. It was fun. It was very enjoyable. And this was huge. I didn't really realize until I blocked it how big this was. This is 10 ounces of fiber, 10 ounces of yarn. It makes such a cozy shawl. Yeah, so this is a design that I am writing up and that I am either going to put out there as like a free kind of recipe, or I might write it up as a pattern, maybe as a free pattern. I guess I'll see like how much effort goes into getting it all like edited and perfected for you guys, because I definitely want to make sure that I am putting together something that is of good quality. And if it takes a lot of time and energy to do that, then I guess that will kind of determine whether it's a free pattern or not. But I am anticipating that this will be a free recipe because this will be my first design that I'm putting out there into the world. I've definitely designed a few things at this point, but none of them have I written up and put out there for other people to then try to make. So this, I am almost positive that this will be free. If it's not free, then it will be priced very affordably. But yeah, so just giving you guys a heads up about that. I do think that I would like some test knitters for this. So if you are interested in test knitting this pattern, it doesn't have to be this big. Actually, because I like the idea of doing it as a recipe rather than a pattern, it's very adaptable, and you can make a size of shawl that works for you. It does not have to be this big. It can be bigger than this. It is very adaptable. And so if you're interested in testing for me, let me know. And I would love to send you the recipe when I get it all written up, and then we can get it perfect for everybody else, or close to perfect. But yeah, in particular, this lace I need to figure out exactly, because I adapted an existing lace stitch that I found, and I don't actually know if this is, I'm sure I didn't invent something new. I'm sure this exists somewhere else, but I definitely took something that was something originally and I made it something else entirely. So I don't know what that means, but I do need to work out this lace section and how I did that. But yeah, so this is my mom's shawl. Yeah, so my first completed project that I knit using my hand spun. And this is, yeah, my first, I guess, big design that I'm putting out into the world. it's a little scary telling you guys about it, and and I guess kind of like committing myself to actually writing it up and putting it out there and having people test it and everything. So yeah, honestly, that's a little scary, but people do it all the time, so it's probably fine. So I already did the really hard part of knitting the thing, right? Hopefully that's the hard part. It wasn't hard at all. It was really fun. So yeah, super, super simple. This is a great beginner-friendly project, and it teaches you a lot of different stitches if you're not familiar with them. And if you are familiar with these stitches, then it's just really, I think, a fun but still like easy, soothing kind of knit, because you're just switching. You do a certain stitch for several sections, or for a section, and then you switch to a different stitch for a section. And we've got little garter sections where you don't really do much of anything other than just knit, and then do your increases and decreases on the sides. And yeah, so I wanted to share this with you guys because I'm pretty pleased with this shawl, and I thought that it was fun enough and turned out well enough that I would like to put it out there into the world in case other people would like to make it as well. I will possibly be knitting this up again, but with a totally different yarn, because this is not my color scheme. This was for my mom, so this is her color scheme. But I will very likely knit this up for myself in some yarn that I've got in stash, perhaps. Yeah, this was knit on like a worsted to Aran weight yarn, but it would work for any weight. You just change the needle size that you use, and then you just adapt how many sections or how many repeats you do to make it the size that you want. So yeah, in that way, I think this will be a recipe. So I think this will be a free recipe. Yeah, I'm just gonna say it now. It's a free recipe. Once I get it written up, I'll put it up on Ravelry, and or you can email me for it when it's done and that kind of thing. I'll let you guys know when it's all written up and it's finished. But yeah, I'm just gonna commit now to this is gonna be a free recipe because I want it to be adaptable for all sorts of stuff, and I am not going to be able to say like how much yardage you need for XYZ. Like, yeah. So free recipe, and it makes a fun, pretty shawl. So yes, so that is a completed object, but it's in the works as far as writing that up and getting it ready for the public. I'm gonna share my hand spun yarn with you guys real quick that I did this December. I do have more upstairs, but it's not finished and skeined up. So these are 2 scrappy yarns that I did and 1 festive yarn that I did. These 2 on the ends were using Wound Up Fiber Arts scrappy bundles, and then this middle one was Nanette Wake Studio in the Ho 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 colorway. So these were super fun. I just love how these scrappy skeins spun up. They're just so fun, and I think they're going to be really fun to knit up. So much fun. And then this is about as festive as you can get. That is pretty festive. So this will probably get knit with next year. We'll see when these 2 guys get knit with. I really like them. So those were some skeins of yarn I recently finished spinning. These are skeins of yarn I just finished dyeing this week. So I did some experimenting with avocado natural dyeing, and I've got these guys, and I really like them. These 2 are on a merino and angora fingering weight base, and I really love them together. I dyed each skein individually because I wanted them each to be a different color because I love variety. So yeah, these are 2 50-gram skeins of an angora merino fingering weight yarn. These will probably get put together in a project. And then this is I think an Aran weight yarn in a tweed. This is alpaca. It might have merino in it as well. I think it's merino and alpaca. It's 100 grams. And I just love these colors. I think they are so pretty, and they're such great neutral pinks, and I want to do more natural dyeing. So we'll see how that adventure goes. And yeah, this was really fun and very satisfying. And I can see how people really get into yarn dyeing. Super fun. So this was with avocados. I have a lot of kitchen scraps I've been saving up over the months, and I did that whole yarn haul from Knit Picks that I shared with you guys, where I got a whole bunch of bare undyed yarn because I wanted to practice dyeing or play around with dyeing. So I have plenty of materials to play with. So we've got those guys, and I think that's it for finished things. So I'll share with you my works in progress. So current works in progress, this guy's the easiest to grab, so I'll just grab him first. This needle needs to go over there with the other needles. This is my sweater that I'm working on right now. This is definitely a happiness project. It is not practical, other than I can wear this around the house a whole lot, which will be fun. And I'm also not super satisfied with how it's working up at the moment. Like, I'm not entirely happy with it. I need to go through my stash and find something else, because this cream right here is not doing it for me. This is using the We Are Knitters yarn. It's the Petite wool. This is the Yarnicorn colorway. It's their super fun rainbowy pink color. It looks like a cupcake with sprinkles on it, and that just delights me. So this is not a sweater that I anticipate I will wear a whole lot out of the house, but I would definitely wear it in the house for coziness. I've had this yarn for about a year, probably over a year at this point. Yeah, definitely over a year. And I never got to knit with it last winter, so I'm knitting with it now. The pattern that I'm doing is the Arts sweater, which is also by We Are Knitters. I've knit another one. I knit an Arts sweater last year, and I like that sweater a lot, and I do wear it. So I wanted another one. I am modifying it though. I'm making it a little longer in the body, and I'm doing it's not bishop sleeves. The name is escaping me at this moment, but the sleeves will come in with like a rapid decrease at the cuff, and so it'll be like slightly puffy sleeves-ish. I really like that kind of sleeve. So I'm making a few modifications, but not tons. And then I do think that I want to get rid of this cream color and do something else there, because that's just not my favorite. Not my favorite. So I'm gonna look through my stash and see if there's anything else that I could use there that I like more. I'm like glancing around as I talk to you about it, seeing like what else could I use. We'll see. I'll have a look around. But that cream color down there, I'm just not loving that. I was gonna do that on the hem, then at the neck and at the cuffs, but I don't know if it's my favorite, so that might get removed. And I might pick up there and do something different, so we'll see. But this is fun. I guess I'm modifying it in that I am knitting it in the round, and the pattern is written to be knit flat and seamed together, and I'm definitely not doing that. So I'm going to split for the sleeves and then knit the top portion, and then I'll pick up the sleeve, the arm stitches, and then knit the sleeves in the round as well, because I don't want to knit it flat and seam it. So that's fun. I've been enjoying that. I knit all of this in just a couple of, maybe 3 hours yesterday. So this goes real quick. I knit almost 100 grams of yarn in 2 or 3 hours. So that's a very quick sweater. That'll be done pretty soon, as long as I'm working on it. Like, if I don't pick it up, it obviously won't get done, but I anticipate I'll probably work on it a bit. So that'll be done pretty shortly. This will also be done very shortly. I'm actually just waiting for my yarn to arrive. This is in my project bag by Puff Stitch. I think it's Puff Stitch 1 is her handle on Etsy and Instagram. It's adorable. I love this bag. This is her sweater, not sweater, her shawl size of this bag. It's a canvas a waxed canvas box bottom. It's got a pocket in it. It's a nice neutral on the inside. And what is inside, you ask? Well, this is another shawl. I cast this on Christmas Eve. And I actually have finished it as it is written, but I wanted to make it bigger. So, yeah. So this is a week's worth of knitting. I took the week off from work this past week, actually, so I did a lot of knitting. So please don't be too impressed. But yeah, this is the Forage shawl by Helen Stewart. And I think it's lovely. I did make a few changes, not tons, but I did do a few things differently. One thing I did differently was I added mohair, and the pattern is written for just fingering weight, but I've never knit with mohair, and I also don't have anything with mohair in my closet, and it's getting colder, so I wanted to knit the shawl, but I wanted it to be something that would still be a little warm for the winter. And a fingering weight shawl is not necessarily what I need when it's like 20 degrees outside. So I thought the addition of the mohair would just make it just a little warmer, a little bit more seasonally appropriate without changing it so much that it made it like a bulky kind of shawl. So I went up 1 needle size and I added the mohair. And then I did add in a couple of little colors here and there. I also didn't follow her suggestions for how to change the colors. So I did change a few things. I'm also making it bigger. So it's bigger because I added the mohair and I sized up my needles by 1 needle size, like 1 full needle size. It's also bigger because I'm adding extra panels. So I should have stopped here if I was knitting it within the pattern, but I'm going past that and I'm adding another section and a half, basically, to this. So it'll be a bit bigger. I'm not doubling the size of the shawl by any means, but it will be a bit bigger than what the pattern is. So it's already bigger than what it is written for because of the mohair and the sizing up the needles. But yeah, this extra length here is making it even more so. So keeping that in mind, if you're interested in this shawl, mine is bigger than what the pattern dictates if you knit it as written. But I do really like this. It is mostly using minis from Nannette Wake Studio. These are minis that have been in my stash for well over a year, closer to a year and a half, almost exactly, actually. So I was waiting for the perfect project for these minis. Found it. I think it'll be great. I think this will be really lovely and fun, and just very happy colors. And I can tell what people are saying with mohair being slightly scratchy. I feel that. It is slightly scratchy. I think in the future, I'm not going to buy mohair anymore. I think I'm just going to buy Suri alpaca. It's not so unpleasant that I am not going to wear this or that I hate knitting with it. I've still enjoyed knitting with it and I will still wear it. It is soft and it is fluffy and fuzzy, but it is slightly scratchy, for me at least. So I don't know why. Does everybody feel a slight scratchiness with mohair? I don't know. Yeah, I think it's beautiful. Very simple lace, but very effective. I think I said before, Helen Stewart, I think, is a very elegant designer. And I think I think of elegance with her designs because they are simple but effective and beautiful and delicate. And yeah, this is super fun. So this is her Forage shawl out of her Knit Vent 2022 collection by Helen Stewart. So super fun. I am enjoying that, and I am just waiting for my mohair to get here because I went through 2 balls of mohair, and now I am out. And I have 15 or 20 rows of knitting left to do, but I don't have any more mohair, so I'm just waiting for my mohair to arrive. And I will get that guy finished up. I probably have like an hour-ish, maybe 2 hours of knitting left to do on that guy, and then he'll be finished, but I need my mohair. So let's see, I've got my sweater and my forage shawl. And then, oh, I have this shawl that I just cast on this afternoon because I ran out of mohair this morning. So I cast this on this afternoon. And this is not particularly a pattern. This is just a boomerang shawl. So it's just a shawl where you are increasing on one side the whole time and then decreasing on the other side so that it creates a triangle. My shawl that I knit my mom is a boomerang shawl. So you're just increasing on one side a whole lot and you just decrease on the other side like every other row. And it creates a triangle shape. Very simple. So I'm taking that same kind of formula, but I am just doing garter stitch, and I'm probably going to do rows of eyelets every once in a while, just to, because I like eyelets. So just to add a little interest. But yeah, I have seen several squishy, simple garter shawls in bright neon colors on Instagram lately, and I want one. And I have several skeins, mostly 50 grams of neon yarn, because when I bought it online, I didn't realize it was neon. I don't wear neon a lot. I wear a lot of neutrals. So I've just been squirreling them away, waiting for a project to appear. And I'm just going to make a super bright, neon, fun, squishy garter shawl. Again, there's no particular pattern. It's just a boomerang construction. Super cute. Aren't those colors so happy? This is Nannette Wake Studio in the, I think it's Reef colorway. It might be Coral Reef, but I think it is just the Reef colorway. Super bright neon. I don't know if she has this in her shop anymore. Here's another one I'm using for the shawl, also Nannette Wake Studio. This is the Sweet and Sour Raspberry colorway. Yeah, very neon. I didn't really realize how neon these are when I looked at them online, but they are bright. So I have a few others I'm going to add to this shortly. And I will soon have a squishy garter shawl, and it'll be very warm and soft and just super cuddly and cozy for the winter, but very bright and happy. So I'm excited about that. This is a project bag by Barley Pearl. Yeah, Barley Pearls on Etsy. I love this project bag. I love bats, and I love moths, and I love flowers. I love this bag. Super great construction. The interfacing is very sturdy. It stays open wonderfully. It has 2 pockets of like a cute coordinating fabric. Yeah, great project bag. It's a shawl size. So I have that on the go, and then I am going to be picking back up my Stephen West Mystery Knit Along, the Twist and Turns shawl. So I'll just pull that out and show that to you guys because it's been a minute since you saw it. So we all need a refresher. I need a refresher. Where was I on this guy? Oh goodness gracious me. Frickin' there are just stitches held everywhere. Oh my gosh. Would you look at this? This is a mess. Oh my goodness. So, I left off on Clue 2. Good grief. So I left off on Clue 2. This is wonderful though, right? Isn't this fun? So I've got most of the cabling done on this wing, which is super cute. Super cute. So most of the cabling's done on this guy, but then I've got to do the cabling on this guy. And then I have to do those long strips and then fill it in and then do something right here. And I'm so glad actually that I'm doing this after the MCAL kind of like officially ended, because there are lots of really great ideas on Instagram and I'm sure Ravelry too, but I'm not on Ravelry as much as I am on Instagram, for what people have done with like this little section down here with adding to this bottom portion. And I have some ideas of what I'd like to do. So that's been really great to be able to draw inspiration from what other people have been doing. So that has been a definite perk of putting it on pause, or going a little slower, not rushing through it. But I am excited, I think, to pick this back up again. I really like the yarn and I like the colors a lot. This is my first time really doing cables, and I'm really enjoying the cables. There's dog hair everywhere. I normally at the introductions say where I'm coming to you from the southeast of the United States, and I live here with my husband and my 3 Great Danes. So my 3 Great Danes shed a lot. There is dog hair everywhere. So yes. Picking this back up. These 2 colors, the light brown and the light pink, are from Hobby Lobby. They're Yarn Bee, and this is the Flamenco colorway, and this is the Zahara colorway. And then this pink is just a one-of-a-kind colorway from Nanette Wake Studio. I did get this as well because this was like a mini that I had. So then I bought this, which is a very close match, almost identical. I bought this when I realized I was going to run out of this, because I just kind of pulled this from stash last minute because I didn't like the contrast yarn I originally had. Anyway, this is Grapefruit Sorbet, if you are wondering. And yes, it is highlighter neon pink. So fun color, Grapefruit Sorbet. Yes, super fun. So this guy will get picked back up maybe this week, because now that I have it in my hands again, I kind of want to knit on it. And I've been watching a lot of Stephen West stuff on YouTube lately, like different interviews he's done with people and stuff like that, and it's kind of got me, and his Hibernate Along videos kind of got me wanting to do some Stephen West knitting. I think that's it for the knitting stuff. So I'll talk a little bit about what I'm reading right now, but if you were just here for the yarny goodness, thanks for hanging out with me for a while, and I hope you had fun. And yeah, I always enjoy comments below, and of course liking the video helps the channel. It helps more people find me and hang out and creates a bigger community. So that's always appreciated, but you definitely don't have to do it. Don't like it if you didn't like it. And then subscribing is always fun too, because yeah, helps my channel. You get to be part of the community, more so, I guess. And then you get some, usually you'll see the videos pop up when they come up, when I've got new videos up. And I do post new videos almost basically every week. But yeah, no pressure to do those things. Yeah, no pressure, but it's appreciated if you do. I'm always very touched whenever I see how many people like the videos and join the community and subscribe and that kind of stuff. Like, it does make my heart very happy, but I'm also just happy to have you here. So yes, thank you, and I'll see you guys next time if you're just here for the yarn. But if you want to stick around for a few more minutes, I'll talk about what I'm reading. I do have a sort of, I guess this is more of a goal or resolution for this coming year. For reading fun books, I want to read at least one fun book a month. I think that'll be a really good balance for doing all of the academic reading and writing that I'm doing for my dissertation. I think having fun books to read will provide some balance, because I also do continuing education for work all of the time, and my work is pretty, like I work in like a clinical field, and so I tend to, for the past decade or more, like almost everything that I have read has been professional, academic, clinical in nature. So I decided, I used to love to read just for fun. I would read all the time. I was one of those kids that got in trouble for reading too much. So I decided this year I'm reading at least one fun book a month, and that's a goal, and I am sticking to that goal. So over this break that I've had, because I took off some time from work and school for the winter this past week, and I've been reading and listening to audiobooks. That's been awesome. I had a bit of a book haul because I went to Barnes & Noble during their sale where all hardbacks were 50% off. So I got some books there. And then I ordered some other books like used. Yeah, so I have plenty of books to keep me busy and to fulfill that one fun book a month goal. One book I just finished listening to was, is it Elizabeth Gilbert, the lady who wrote Eat, Pray, Love? She wrote City of Girls, and I just finished listening to that on audiobook, and that was great. City of Girls. It's set in the 1940s. So there are some more serious elements in it, but she has such a cool writing style. She's very insightful in a lot of ways. I think that she portrays a lot of poignant, meaningful aspects of humanity. Yeah, it was a good book. I do like it a lot. It's definitely for like adult readers, potentially young adults. Some young adults could probably read it. I'm not a great judge on that, honestly. I tend to think like, oh, if there's anything remotely adulty, you can't read this. But then I have to remember back to when I was a teenager and I read all kinds of stuff. So it's not an adult book in that it's like, you know, X rated or whatever. It's just got more mature content in it. It's certainly not like a romance novel that has like explicit scenes of physical intimacy or anything. They talk about it a little bit, but they don't have like scenes of that. So it's not like, I mean, it's a book about humanity and about being human. So yeah, anyway, it's really good. If you want to know a little bit about it, so it's set in the 1940s. It follows the story of a girl who was a bit affluent, and then she moves to New York City, and then she becomes involved in the theater. She is very talented with sewing, so it's really kind of cool reading it as a fiber artist, because she talks a lot about textiles and the fiber arts, and a lot of like her creativity and inspiration, and how her soul and heart are made happy when she's touching fabrics and with color and texture. And so I really think it's a cool book for fiber artists, especially if you like sewing, but she talks about knitting a little bit in there too. So good book. I recommend it. It does have some, you know, again, sad, heavy things, but I would not say it is a sad, heavy book. I think it's a good book. So I read that. I finished that yesterday, and then I started Spinning Silver on audiobook. I do not know the author though. I'll try to remember to put it down below. And if I don't remember and you want to know who the author is, just comment or message me and I will tell you the author. But it's Spinning Silver, and it's kind of like a fairy tale retelling twist on Rumpelstiltskin. So far, I'm not really seeing any Rumpelstiltskin in this story yet at all, and I'm about an hour in, but maybe we'll get there. It is set in, I think it's set in like a Scandinavian kind of area. Honestly, don't quote me. You could probably look it up and find out more about that than I'm able to tell you at this moment, because I just kind of started, I didn't look into it before I read it. I just was like, oh, that sounds kind of interesting, and then borrowed it from the library through the Libby app and started listening to the audiobook. But it's good so far. It is a little sad and it's got a depressing setup, but I'm hoping that it lightens up. If it doesn't lighten up soon, I might not continue reading it, because I noticed it was making me sad. But it is good, and it's really well written. Hopefully it picks up, though. I'll let you know. Another book that I am reading for... and my resolution to read one fun book a week, or a month, not a week, goodness. a month is actual physical book, because I need to spend less time multitasking, and I need to slow my roll, and I need to not be staring at screens all the time, because I just stare at screens a lot for when I'm recording, when I'm at work. A lot of the times I'll be staring at screens, watching podcasts or etc. When I'm knitting, there's screens, and so I want less screen time, less multitasking, and just slowing down. So I want physical books. I'm going to read one physical book a month. That is fun. That is not work related. So this is the one that I've got going on for January, and I think I might have another one for January too, because I've got some friends that want to read a book with me. This has been great so far. This has great reviews. It's probably, I think it's is it a bestseller? This is Shelley Van Pelt's first novel, and it's good so far. It's another kind of like humanity book, like exploring different aspects of being human, and being in relationship with people. It's really good so far. One of the main characters is an octopus, and it's just so clever the way that she writes from his perspective. Yeah, he has a lot of commentary and reflection on what he observes about humans, and I just think it's very clever, and it's funny, and it's insightful in a lot of ways, I think, too. And I like hearing about life from the perspective of an octopus, because I won't go down a rabbit hole, but I personally spend a bit of my time being aware of or thinking about other beings' experience. So like my dogs, or like the squirrel, or like I'm one of those people that like consider my house plants to be family members. Like I just I don't know. I think, at least I try to have a lot of respect for other living beings, and so I like that she is being so thoughtful about what this octopus is thinking and feeling, and yeah, just anyway, I don't want to go down a rabbit hole with that, but I like that, and I like that little bit. She's just touching on it a tiny bit so far, although I'm getting the idea that it might become a theme throughout the book, but just the interconnectedness of us all. And not just humans, but the interconnectedness of all living creatures and of all of creation. So I like it so far. It's a good book, and there are lots of really funny, clever bits in it. Again, there are hard things, but I wouldn't say that it's like a heavy, dark book. I think that it's just a very, I don't know, insightful, real book about humanity. So with an interesting and engaging storyline. Yeah, I like it. So Remarkably Bright Creatures by Shelley Van Pelt. I think that's all I have to share with you guys today. I'm looking around to see if there's anything I forgot. I can tell that I'm starting to act a little like, ugh, and I think it's because my blood sugar is telling me that I need to go eat something. But it's nice to be sitting with you guys and chatting again. It's been a while since I podcasted, so I'm very happy to be hanging out with you guys today, and hopefully you enjoyed it as well. If you've got any questions or comments, like always, you can comment down below, or you can send me a message on Instagram or Ravelry or email. I do want to make sure that I mention to any prize winners from the Magical Make-Along, I do have your prizes. I have them all laid out. I have all of the packaging materials ready to go. I have the mailers all ready to be labeled. I have a whole processing station set up on the other end of my office or craft room or whatever. It is ready to go, and they will be mailed. I will notify you when they're in the mail so that you can just have an idea, general idea of when to look out for them in your post. And I do really appreciate you guys being so patient and understanding with my delays and getting all those mailed to you during the holidays. I didn't think that part through. with getting things mailed during the very busiest time of the year, because the magical make-along ended October 31st. And then my idea was like, oh, I can get these mailed out like the first or second week of November. That didn't happen. And then so November and December are just a lot. So I will rethink that for next year and re-strategize. But I apologize for the delay, and I do really appreciate you guys being understanding and patient with that. I do have your prizes together, and they are all ready to be processed, and I just am going to finish writing the notes and get all that together, and I will let each of those prize winners know when I've got your prize in the mail so you can look out for it. But yes, I didn't forget you. I didn't forget your prizes. They are going out to you. So yeah, I think that's about it for today. I'll send out some more information about the hygge make-along because I think that would be cozy and nice to do. We had tossed around an idea of doing some brioche for the hygge make-along. It's not required, but it could be fun. So there's like a brioche option if somebody wants to do some brioche for it, and we can all brioche along, because I've never done brioche before other than just knitting a little like swatch of brioche, and I really enjoyed knitting that swatch, and it really made me want to knit some brioche. So I think that'd be fun to do for the hygge make along. So yeah, I'll let you guys know more information about that, but that'll be coming up starting this month and then going through the end of winter like last year. So our hygge make-along is just a cozy make-along. You just make cozy stuff that makes you happy because winter can be hard and dark and cold and gray and wet, and it can be good to just give ourselves some coziness and some light happiness during those months. I think it can be a fun part of winter. Yeah. So, alrighty. I'm getting a little blabbery now, so I will end it here. Thank you so much for hanging out with me. I will see you guys in the next video, and happy crafting, and yeah, and happy new year. Happy 2023. I'll see you guys soon. Bye.